What about the endpoints, James? We talked about computing endpoints, aka phones, iPads, authorized laptops, etc. My son's gaming machine. So endpoint from that perspective. But what about endpoints that are being spun up in service providers, hosting facilities, AWS, Azure, as a point of example? You gave a little bit of example about how that can happen speed now. They put their assets there. So how can we move quickly? How can a person move quickly and confidently into a cloud environment and just be able to have the lightest but most powerful touch on those endpoints? One of them, obviously, OpenDNS. What about some others?
The best thing in that picture is to flip around the idea that says it's safe because it's in the cloud. There's a good t-shirt that says there is no cloud, it's just someone else's computer. And people from a security aspect should really believe it that way. And they should believe they need to secure that computer. So the best way to move fast is the first thing you do is treat it like you would any other data center. In any other data center, you would drop a firewall in and then say, put your servers behind it. And that's exactly what people should do in the cloud. You drop a firewall in and then you spin up your boxes behind it. And by a firewall, I mean a real firewall, an actual third-party standard vendor firewall like you would have on-premise, not the AWS built-in or the Azure built-in or the vCloud built-in firewalls. That's just a router. And so you want to spin it up. The other thing you want to do is not rely on any host-based firewalling. So for example, almost every developer that we talk to who has Joomla, Drupal, or WordPress says they have security and it's some host-based plugin for WordPress. But half the time the attacks we see are attacking the actual operating system or are attacking the web service before that plugin even has a chance to move. So we really have to start taking back security from marketing and developers in the cloud and make sure there's a normal security and that their systems are behind it. That also helps them move fast because they get to concentrate on development and not try to learn to be security folks. It's been a lot lately.
The developers are hustling, they're doing their job and they want to go quickly. The capabilities of the security team are essentially being forced into a hole because they don't have the architecture of how they want it. And so they're letting the developers run the security show. And that's happening at least
everywhere.
Yeah.
And it's a great way to steal passwords because all the developers want to pop it up and either sync with the user's normal AD password so that the user is it's faster and they don't have to remember another password. Or users naturally just make it the same as their work password. And because they're insecure, it's just a great way to lift passwords away and then do the ACH fraud by logging in as the user. Because it's not hacking if you log in with the password. You're just using a password you shouldn't. It's not really hacking at that point.
Kind of full circle back to account takeovers. You're just logging in as someone else, essentially.